Why did Jesus ascend at the right hand of God the Father rather than to stay on the earth after his resurrection? Well, one of those reasons is found here in Hebrews chapter 4, verse 14. The Hebrew writer says, "Therefore, since we have a great high priest who has ascended into heaven, Jesus, the Son of God." Did you hear this? We have a high priest who ascended into heaven. Now, under the old covenant, it takes two things for a sacrifice to be made. You have to have the offering. In the case of the Old Testament, it was a lamb. And then you had to have a high priest who made the offering. So the lamb wasn't going to offer himself. He had to be offered by a high priest. Well, in the case of Jesus' sacrifice, he is both the offering and the high priest. Under the old covenant, after the priest would slaughter the animal, he would take that blood and go into the Holy of Holies and then to present that blood before God. And so it is with Jesus. It wasn't enough that Jesus died on the cross and his blood remained outside of Jerusalem. No, his blood would have to be brought into the Holy of Holies. So that is the reason for Jesus' ascension before the right hand of God the Father. Something else happened. By going into heaven, he made the sacrifice an eternal sacrifice because he offered it through the eternal Spirit. So by bringing the blood of Jesus into heaven, the blood became an eternal sacrifice to wipe away the sins of all those in the old, from the old times until even today in the future. And this will explain that when Jesus ascended at the right hand of God the Father, you remember, a cloud took him up. Well, what was that cloud? That's the cloud of witnesses. You see, all the saints and all the righteous people who were not yet born again lived in paradise. But when Jesus was now going to ascend to the right hand of God the Father, he was able now to bring them with him because he was going to make his sacrifice an eternal sacrifice, atoning for the sins of those in the old covenant. So when a cloud hit him, it was a cloud of witnesses. It was showing us that the saints of God were now going to go to heaven. But here's the good news for you and I. The Hebrew writer says in Hebrews 4:16, "Let us then approach the throne of grace with confidence that we may receive mercy and find grace to help us in our time of need." And friend, that's what prayer is all about. When you pray, you are going to the throne of grace. You are ascending with Jesus. And when you ascend with him, you could be assured that you're going to receive grace and mercy. So have confidence when you pray, because you are ascending with Christ at the right hand of God the Father.